Hello and welcome to the OCVarsity Gridiron Show Playoff Edition. I'm your host, Jonathan Khamis, being joined by Dan Albano to my left and Steve Fryer to my right. Guys, it's finally here. It's the playoffs. We're going to talk about 3 games this week, and let's start with Division 1. That's right, 3. JSerra 8-2, Long Beach Poly 8-2, the Lions traveling to the Vet. JSerra finished 3rd in the Trinity League. Long Beach Poly finished 1st in the Moore League, as they usually do. This is the 2nd straight year these two teams meet in the playoffs. Of course, Poly winning last year 60-44. Dan, you've been all over the Trinity League like a cheap suit.
I heard it's a pretty good league, guys.
Yeah, I know. It's one of my favorite sayings.
They got some good players.
Yeah, it might be one of the best leagues in the country. Might. What do you think about this one, Dan?
Well, I think it's, for JSerra, they got their spiritual cleansing, to borrow a term from Coach Ortiz at San Clemente. They got their spiritual cleansing last week when they rebounded and beat Santa Margarita. They needed to get their mojo back because the previous week, JSerra really fell flat. Lost, very lopsided game to Mater Dei at home. So Chris Street was running the rock very well last week against Santa Margarita. Calvin Musette blocked yet another punt. And, JSerra still got to improve their run defense a little bit. Jake Thomas had quite a few yards, 200 yards for Santa Margarita. But I like JSerra to bounce back, from last year's, high-scoring loss. I don't think Poly has that kind of firepower that they had this year. So I like JSerra to get into the quarterfinals of D1 with a victory on the road.
Steve, you said that this Lions team is the best team that they've ever had. First-round opponent on the road. Yeah. Can they step up and get a win in Long Beach?
Yeah, and the reason I think this is the best JSerra team is because of interior line play. It's the best they've had. They've always had, they've had in the last several years, a 1 or 2 really good skill dudes, but now they've got great interior line play, and of course that's what makes it happen in the game of football. Also, I look at it in a simple way because I'm a simple-minded guy. So, Los Alamitos beat Long Beach Poly non-league. I think JSerra is better than Los Alamitos. Therefore, by logic, JSerra will win this game.
Logic works for me, Steve.
Yeah. And one thing that I think had happened, I talked to Coach Barbie, who's an old OCVarsity friend, who's now the head coach at Poly, and I think they made a move at offensive coordinator after that game against Los Alamitos, where they struggled to score, and the new OC, they got a new OC there. I think they've improved in that area.
Yeah, we'll see if that makes a difference. For sure, should be an interesting game Friday night. Okay, guys, let's go to a Division II game here as 5-5 Edison, the 3rd-place finisher in the Sunset League, takes on San Juan Hills, 7-3. They finished on top of the Seaview League. Guys, this is a rematch from earlier this season where Edison beat the Stallions 33-14. Both these teams lost in the 2nd round last year, but only one can move on this year.
Yeah, these revenge games and, these rematch games, I think they usually favor the team that lost. I think that's a big, big motivating factor for in high school sports is to get that revenge. But I still think Edison's gonna get the victory. I was impressed with the way the Chargers played last week in a pretty close loss to Los Alamitos. I think they were challenged more in the Sunset League than the Stallions were in the Seaview League.
Yeah, sure. And we'll go in more depth in the Division I and Division II games in an OCVarsity Gridiron extra show that's coming up. Steve?
I think when Edison beat San Juan Hills last time around, they were healthier, especially quarterback. We know that Angelovic has been out some with a clavicle break, and that's a tough injury to come back from. So I like the way San Juan Hills has a lot of momentum going right now. Edison's good. Edison's got a lot of pride. Yeah, they can win this game, but I'm going to go with San Juan Hills. I'll be at that game to see it myself in person. Should be fun.
All right, everyone. That autograph line is going to be huge.
At the Badlands.
Yeah, that's a cool name. Division 6, HB, Huntington Beach. They're 6-4. Where did they finish in Sunset? 4th. They were an at-large team. They will be at St. Margaret's, who is 9-1. They finished 1st in the San Joaquin League. Guys, I think this is really interesting because St. Margaret's has perennially been really, really good at football. And here they are hosting a big school in Huntington Beach who has a big enrollment, and they got some dudes. This is a big test for the Tartans, isn't it, Dan?
Yes, and I know one of the sports writer in Orange County will be very happy about it. Would be one Steve Fryer, who always has written oftentimes that he'd love to see the Tartans play some county teams, and I second that. So we have to do when we evaluate and rank the Tartans. Steve and we always have to do a lot of cross-referencing on a lot of non-Orange County teams, and we grow our horizons on our knowledge of football teams. But I think St. Margaret's is going to win this game. I think they'll get to show how good they are. I have them, but I think this is going to be a competitive game because I have in my own rankings, I have the Tartans just a little bit, a few spots above Huntington Beach, who I have about 19th in Orange County. And I think I have the Tartans maybe 16 or 17. So I think this is a fairly competitive game. Yeah. Tough draw for the number 2 seed. Tartans in the second round, but I think it's a good game, and I think it will be enlightening for how the depth of the Sunset League and how good are the Tartans. They're seated second to South Hills, pretty good team in this Division 6.
Sounds like an evenly matched game. And guys, when you're talking about a formula of ranking teams, I mean, how much does algebra play into equation here?
I just skip algebra and go right to calculus and trigonometry when I do my stuff, guys. But I can't even spell trigonometry. But I'll tell you what, St. Margaret's, I like them a lot. And I'm glad they're playing an Orange County team because I've been griping about that. They played Grace Brethren, really good team. They only lost by 1 point, 13-12. That's the most impressive outcome so far for St. Margaret's. For me, they swept through that San Joaquin League. Beat Saddleback Valley Christian by a bunch last week. No surprise to win that league. Eric McClure, a pretty good running back over there at HB. So we'll see how this goes. But I like St. Margaret's to win this game. They're seeded number 2, St. Margaret's is. And this is a good matchup for the Tartans. But I like them to win this game. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
All right. It's going to be a great weekend of playoff football. We cannot wait. Check out the Orange County Register High School section where we'll have all the scores. And there's a Gridiron Extra show. We'll go in depth on Division I and Division II. Thank you for watching.